It's time to Connect to Congress, a segment where we talk directly to Washington lawmakers that represent us here in the San Joaquin Valley. Right now, we're talking to Democratic Representative of California's 21st Congressional District, Jim Costa, live from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Congressman. Thanks for joining us. You've just returned.
Good morning, Jim. It's always great to be on Great Day. Thank you.
We appreciate it. You've just returned from a trip to Ukraine. What can you tell us about that visit?
Well, what I can tell you is that Ukrainians are bravely fighting for democracy, not only for the sovereignty of their country, but for democracies around the world. This is a seminal moment in American and world history as to whether or not we are going to stand up to the war criminal Vladimir Putin, who is killing innocent lives every day in Ukraine. This is really about determining the difference between good and evil and whether or not democracies will continue to determine in the 21st century the values that we share in common. Freedoms of speech, religion, freedom to be risk takers and entrepreneurs and have a rules-based economy, the human rights that are all essential that make democracies what they are today. Ukraine is fighting with support of our allies in the United States, but we need to really make the firm commitment. The California National Guard has been a partner with the Ukrainian military for 23 years. Many people don't realize that. We need to get them the F-16s that they need for air cover. We need to provide the ATACMS. We need to avoid the incrementalism that sadly has taken place. We've done a lot, but we need to conclude so that we can ensure a Ukraine victory.
And is that dependence on other people, other nations helping Ukraine, is what they're counting on? If we're coming up on another fall, then another winter. If this continues to be a war of attrition, does that favor Russia?
Yes, it does. And to point our NATO allies, there are 12 other countries of our NATO allies that frankly have done more, if you factor in their GDP, than we have done. But we have provided thus far a significant amount of support for Ukraine, to be sure, but it's less than 3% of our total defense budget. And the fact of the matter is, if we provided them the additional support, Ukraine can win this war. And by the way, in the process, we are diluting every day the Russian military, which is so essential. What we've determined, clearly the Ukrainians have made everybody understand, is that the Russian military is a Potemkin village. It's just as corrupt as the country is itself, and therefore they are losing on the battlefield and resorting to bombing innocent children and homes, schools, and hospitals because they can't win the war on the battlefield. But we have to provide the significant support with our allies to bring this to a conclusion, a successful conclusion with a Ukrainian victory.
And the Ukrainians also have a finite resource, and that is people. Any idea how they stand when it comes to just how many soldiers they have left to keep fighting?
Well, that's a serious issue. I, on Friday night, was having dinner with one of my colleagues, a member of the Ukrainian parliament. They've lost almost 200,000 Ukrainians. The Russians have lost over 300,000. But Ukraine is a country about the size of California in population, about 40 million people. Think about it, in 19 months of war, they have lost through injuries and fatalities almost 200,000 people. Comparatively, in the 10 years of the Vietnam War, the United States lost 58,000 Americans. So you look at that and you think, my gosh, how long can this country continue to fight the fight for democracies, for their sovereignty and democracies around the world? So clearly attrition is an issue, but Russia is also feeling the effects of that attrition as well.